Hello, this is Ben, and we want to talk about Jesus and popularity. Now, the simple, straightforward way to get into this is just to take a quick look at the life of Jesus. And Jesus was tempted. I don't know if you remember the temptation of Christ that happened at the beginning of his ministry, sort of right before. The first temptation was fleshly. In other words, he was really hungry, and the devil tempted him to end his fast. He was on a fast to God and praying to God, and the devil tempted him to give up this fast for God and eat some bread. He didn't give in. And the third temptation was for power and pride and excellence and all that. But the one we want to focus on is the second temptation, or in Luke, I think it's actually the third, where Jesus was tempted to go to the high point of the temple, throw himself off so that angels will show up. And the question is, well, why on earth wouldn't Jesus do that? Why is this a big deal? You've got to understand that Jesus was coming to save the world, to redeem the world, and to draw the world to himself. In other words, the main thing that Jesus preached was Jesus. And this would have been a dramatic way to get the people to respect him and listen to him. Think about all the arguments people had that Jesus had with people that he could have just avoided, by just showing off how the fact that he's God was some sort of miracle, miraculous something, and yet he never did that. Can you imagine God Almighty engaging in these belittling arguments, if you read, especially John, that he has with these people who call him everything under the sun, and they disrespect him like he's just a nobody? It's Jesus Christ. It's God. It's the creator of the universe that they pray to every day with all their silly little prayers, and so the thing is, there's a temptation for Jesus to use the angels and these gimmicks basically to get people to respect him, because in the Bible, anytime an angel shows up, people are immediately super horrified and terrified, and there's nothing but infinite respect, and whatever you say, okay. So why didn't Jesus do that? Jesus could have snapped his fingers and had the ultimate entourage. So, obviously, the point is it's proper, and the right thing to do is to give people enough evidence and information about you and put yourself out there so they know you. But at the same time, allow them to make their choice. Don't try to be motivated by what the Bible calls later in 1 John, the lusts of the eyes. In other words, the lust to be seen, to be filled with a desire to be seen in a certain way. Now, as we've kind of introduced the subject and explained the basic idea, and I think this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the problem of relevance in Bible study and preaching and that kind of thing. What I've just given you can be transformed into an entire sermon, and yet it can mean nothing to someone if you don't bring in specific examples of it in people's real everyday lives. And so it seems very irrelevant, or basically it can be seen as irrelevant, and it allows it to just not affect people. They close the doors of the church and leave that in there, and I can talk in these platitudes, don't be super worried about popularity, and don't try to control what people think about you, and let them make their own mind up. But then what does that mean? What does that look like really? So what we want to do, for as long as we can get away with in this video, is just look at some examples. And the first example I would think of is an entourage, right? The ultimate accessory, the entourage. In other words, a group of people, and by having those people as your group, then you are now seen in a certain way that you consider desirable, no matter what it may be. There's a lot of different ways you can see that, but by I'm associated with them, I'm with them, they're with me. We are together. We are friends. These are the people I hang out with. So now you know that I am cool, super cool and awesome. Okay. And so that is exactly what we're talking about with Jesus. Controlling who your friends are so that you can control what society at large thinks about you. Jesus could have had an angelic entourage at any moment. He could have snapped his fingers and had the best entourage ever. Way cooler than anyone you can gather. You know, there's probably some people out there who are getting offended that I would even say that because they think they and their group are just so popular and so cool. You can't beat Jesus. But Jesus never did that. He never resorted to those cheap tricks. He put himself out there. He bore himself. And then let people make up their own mind. Now, what's another way that this might work out? Well, I think the obvious one that everyone recognizes is sort of fashion trends. Clothing trends, or music trends, or maybe what kind of car you drive, or maybe certain ways of talking, or something like that. Or maybe there's certain media like, oh, we all watch this show, or we all read these books, or we all have this type of, I don't know, decoration in our house. You know, and that makes us the thing. You know, in skateboarding, there's like certain tricks that are cool and certain tricks are uncool, and it's like it can get weird. You know, and then like other people are like hating on the people for not liking these tricks, so they do nothing but those tricks and they become a thing. You know, but the point is, aligning yourself with a trend, I think we've all seen how that can become stupid. Because basically, here's an example. I knew a boy, and he was into the music that I'm into, which is like HXC, melodic, metalcore, emo, screamo stuff. And it was interesting because he would always ask me if I've heard about blah 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 band, you know, and I'm like, I've never heard of blah 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 band. And he would play them, and like it was like, this one's not that good, dude. Like, you don't want to say it, and like you come to realize like he's got all the good ones mixed in with the bad ones, and he seems like all he really cares about is letting everyone know that he knows about the thing, instead of actually, you know, liking the music. In other words, he doesn't actually like the music. He just wants the social status that comes with knowing about the music or liking the music. And you could give a million examples of that in every context. So, in other words, people are motivated by the approval they get from other people instead of the truth in reality. So, in other words, they don't care if the song's good as long as it brings them the right cool status. And that exists in all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. And it's essentially, it's fake. It's not true. A nastier example of the entourage effect, and this gets really nasty, is when it becomes people's like relationship. And when I say that, I mean like who they date, the romantic relationship. And God forbid, in some cases, who they marry. You know, so Albert Einstein was noteworthy because he was the first physicist who ever lived that was famous in his own lifetime for his efforts in physics. And he had a lot of sexual excitement, and a lot of women wanted to sleep with this famous man, so he divorced his wife. I don't think he put her out in some kind of poverty situation, but he divorced his wife so he could have a lot of sex. And a sister of his, or a cousin or something, wanted to marry him, and he was very clear with her. He's like, I'm not really looking to get married. And she's like, oh, I don't want to really be married to you. I just want the fame and the noteworthiness of being Albert Einstein's wife. You know, because today, I mean, it's a name that's synonymous with just being a smart guy. Oh, hey, Einstein, you know. Well, imagine what it was like then. And she literally just wanted to be Einstein's wife. You know, and it's not like men are off the hook for this. They do it too. You know. And I guess that segues into a different one of sort of the entourage effect. And you know, this entourage effect is really nasty because it uses human beings as an accessory, or like some, you know, to make you cooler. So women are sort of the ultimate accessory in this, like, so, because they're automatically valuable based on how they look. So there's a instant value, and all anyone cares about is how girls look. And so, you know, it's if you have a man with you, it's like, well, who's this guy? I don't know if he's any cool or not, you know, because what does he do? What is he like? You know, unless he's already famous for something and already known for something, then why do I want him with me? You know, so I mean, Floyd Mayweather, for example, in his entourage, when he comes out to box, he brings Justin Bieber out with him. Okay, Justin Bieber is a different man because everybody knows who that is. But as a female, you could I just got my girls here. So like, if you look at UFC, every fight that, you know, at the weigh-in, even for the women's fights, they have just random pretty girls in bikinis just back there. What are they doing back there? Why are they there? Do they care about being there? It's like, no, they're part of our entourage, so we let everyone know that we're cool and awesome. I mean, that's really what it is. There's no other point for them being there. I mean, I guess you could say that, you know, people enjoy looking at nice things, and so they're like a potted plant, but I mean, that's getting borderline, you know, treating someone like a potted plant, a human being. So yeah, it's a weird thing, and then it becomes a thing where the party or the scene or the social event is a lame one or a cool one based on the presence of females. So like, are there any girls there? Well, if there's girls there, it's cool. You know, that's why bars give girls' nights. You know, we're gonna have free alcohol for all the females, because as a girl, you're like burdened with this weird cool status, and it gets creepy because like there's this need to control or own or possess a female and feel like you own or control or possess her, so that gives you some sort of status. So like, there's a lot of guys out there who feel like they've got to have a lot of girls liking them or attracted to them or respecting or admiring them, and then that, you know, that creates sort of an entourage of sorts, and then other guys and other people respect them and that kind of thing. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting people to respect you as long as it's for something respectable. Not if it's for something bad, obviously that's bad. But if you did something good, then you should want people to have an honest, reasonable, rational assessment of your life. And if you did something good, then they should think that you did something good, right? But the thing is, the motivation and the lust for other people's affection and admiration and respect and loyalty and love and blah 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 is a powerful thing in and of itself, that it becomes disjointed from who you are as a person. Now, and then you engage in all kinds of tricks. So if I can just have these girls around me, if I can just have this around me. So another example would be someone who sort of the man slut who makes a lot of noise and draws attention to himself in a social environment, so that he's kind of the center of attention. We've all seen that 100 times. There's no authenticity there. There's no reality. So there's ways to kind of be the funny guy or without actually being funny, and then no one will care about anything that you said later, but just to always interrupt and always be making noise and always have something to say. And there's no real reason that anyone should be listening to you, but you're kind of dominating the conversation. And hey, look at me, hey, look at, you know. So we've all known it's typically a guy thing. Although the girl, I have seen girls that are like that. Another nasty one is the sort of the cool dude effect. I made a video a while back about cool people and hipsters, but the cool dude effect is where you try to make people feel excluded. So you're like, befriend someone, you'll buddy up to them, and then you'll not return their call when they think like you're friends or something. And it's kind of creepy because what they're doing is they're using the power of friendship to like literally make someone feel left out and not cool enough. Like, it's not like they don't want you to think that like you suck or that they hate you or anything. They want you to think that they forgot about you. But they didn't forget about you. They intentionally purposed to make you think that they forgot about you. You see? So that's the cool dude thing. And that's really weird because it's kind of a twisting where they're saying the larger social world and what society in the larger sense thinks about me is more important than what the people close to me think about me. That this larger group of people who aren't really my friends, who don't really know me that well, what they think possesses greater value than what the real people in my life think. So, I mean, that's obviously bad, and that's obviously, exactly, what Jesus wouldn't do. Jesus wouldn't resort to some sort of cheap trick or cheap gimmick to control what people think about him. Even though what people think about him is very important, he does want people to think very highly of him. Very highly of him. But at the same time, he'd never engage in these cheap tricks. At any moment, he could have done all sorts of stuff, and people would immediately have respected him. But it wouldn't have been genuine, and it wouldn't have been truly free, and it wouldn't really have been a real love for him, for who he was. Okay, so another example, and this goes on. So let's be real. I mean, and I think we all struggle with all of these, but even this one that I'm about to talk about, delusional perceptions of reality, where you convince yourself that you are cooler than you really are. And you tell yourself, that you alter your perception of what happens or what goes on, so that you tell yourself that's all really about you, and it's all really, about your own social status. And so the thing with this is that it gets very self-focused, and it can be very, when you're engaging in delusions and fake perceptions of reality, that's really unhealthy, and that's a sign of like a really disturbed mental state. But yet it goes on. So here's an example. Let's say that a bunch of people don't like you. People aren't interested in you. Maybe not that they don't like you, and not in the sense that they hate you, but they're just not super interested in you. They're not fascinated with you. They don't admire you or respect you. Why might that be? There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with all of them. Right. So, and in some cases, maybe you're downright abusive towards people or really mean and rude towards people, and yet no one likes you. And so, I mean, I've seen this I've seen it, where it's like the person, this was a long time ago, like anyone that liked him, he was like, well, there's something wrong with them, Now, on the one hand, there's some truth to that validity. Like, you need to be able to make a self-assessment where you're able to say, just because people don't like me, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. They could be wrong. But at the same time, you need to be able to respect other people enough to think that they might be right, and I need to take advice from them. But I do, in the end, I have to make my own judgment about whether or not what I did was wrong, because people can be wrong, and everyone can be wrong. Another example is sort of cult groups. I mean, you've got to ask yourself, these cult groups like, Jim Jones or something like this, where everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid and committing suicide because the fearless leader told them that it was their last way to rebel against the fascist capitalist government through, like, even though fascism is socialist, but, it was like their socialist, communist, like, defiant act. How do people get to that point? Where they were bringing their kids down there to the compound and stuff. And there's a lot of this in different cult groups. How does it get to that point? I mean, that's just one example. But that's the real question. What happened? What happened in this group of people? Well, there's sort of a group mentality where everything that matters to you is who you are in the group. And it's so powerful that really corrupt people actually manipulate that to push other agendas of their own, which is, it gets really deranged. But I mean, that's what went on. That's what went on with Charles Manson. How did Charles Manson get all these people, all these hippies, peace-loving hippies, LSD, hippies, 3 little blonde girls, go into a famous movie star's Christmas party, if I remember right, kill them with knives, cut the unborn baby out of Sharon Tate, the famous movie star, cut the unborn baby out of her womb and stab it to death. And then they put all kinds of vandalism over the house to blame black people because Charles Manson told them to. And you think, well, who's Charles Manson? You know, and they went and did another crime a little later, and that was the evidence there was clear that it was like him telling them to do that. And he had them brainwashed. Well, how did he get them brainwashed? Well, the LSD had something to do with it, but you can't explain everything with drugs. There's always a group with these things. And there's this powerful affirmation that comes when people like you, and when people respect you, and when people admire you and care about you. So powerful that you'll forsake your own integrity, you'll forsake the truth, you'll forsake all of your commitments, and ultimately the things that you ought to be doing, your responsibilities, for the sake of continuing or having that social world. And really, it speaks to a basic human need, the need for intimacy. We all need it. We all need to be understood and have people understand us and to be close to others. And it's such a powerful need because God is a being in relationship. God did not need us to be created so that he wouldn't feel lonely anymore. God is a trinity. He is a unity and a diversity in one. He doesn't need us for anything. And so at the foundation of reality is this relationship. And so, I mean, it makes sense that it would be something we deeply desire and need, but we deeply desire and need it so much that we proceed to gain it in fake ways. And we even forsake God and our relationship with God, to get it. Yeah, so cult groups, the betrayal of love relationships, everything under the sun. There was one more example that I had forgotten about. I guess the obvious example are people who play the game of what some people call it fronting, and where they actually like pretend to be buddy with someone, so they could get in the good graces and move up some sort of ladder, when in reality they don't care. And it's all an act, and the people who fall for that are exactly what we're talking about. That they are enticed by the power of that. I remember that. One more thing, vulnerability. Vulnerability is something people don't admit. Stuff that they like. Oh, I watched that TV show. I find that good. Unless they feel pretty confident that no one's going to make fun of them for it. And hide the truth about themselves. Secrets. But things that they're not comfortable with everybody knowing about. Now, your business is your business, and it's not necessarily the whole world's business. I mean, I think there's something to be said, especially, if you are in a romantic relationship, that, like, it's not everyone else's business. It's your thing, and it kind of ruins it to bring other people into it and spoils it and just makes it nasty. It's special. But, like, at the same time, I think a lot of people, myself included, and probably everyone, struggle with the issue of vulnerability. We're not willing to open up and say something that may get us made fun of. So, for example, I was listening to a praise and worship song, and it's Passion. Hymn CD is from forever ago, but they were doing how great is our great God, something about great God, and the song opens up and the guy's just like, yeah, we're gonna sing to our great God, so come on guys, and don't you want to immediately mock him, make fun of him and he sounds stupid? But to get on stage and to go on recording saying something like that is very vulnerable. He's opening himself up and saying, you know, I actually do really, really think Jesus Christ is awesome. I actually really, really think that. And I know a lot of people think that's really stupid. I think Jesus Christ loves us. It's a love that we can't do without. And there's no better reason to be alive today than that. Than the love of Jesus Christ. Without the love of Jesus Christ, I'll go ahead and say it, and I know people think it's stupid. Kill me. Kill me. Just kill me. Okay. So, you know, there's tons of things you could say like that, like your feelings about something as simple as maybe you like a TV show that's really for kids or for middle school kids or something like that. You know, or maybe you like a TV show that's for girls and you're a guy, or maybe you like something that's for guys and you're a girl. And it's embarrassing. Because we're not vulnerable. Why? Because we have a desire to control what people see, think, and say about us. Okay. And we're not willing to open up and sing to our great God. You know, we're not willing to go there. And it's really weird in the praise and worship music world, like where passion is, when people aren't passionate about it and they're just kind of up there just doing it and following the drill. You know, if there's no passion in it, or if you're trying to do it, you know, because you want cool points associated with it. At that point, you've got the guitar in your hand, and that's always been a thing. When it's not about what worship's really all about, it's about, you know, being a rock star and kind of using Jesus as like a way of guilt tripping people into thinking you're a rock star. So I've been through a million things. I guess the last one, lies. Ultimately, at the end of the day, lies. People lie in 100 different ways so they can have a certain status. You know, oh, she's my girlfriend, so that means I'm cool. Oh no, what I mean to say is I love her. No, you don't. You know what I mean? Trophy wife, trophy husband. It goes on. Oh, these people are my friends, my super close friends. No, they're not. You're not friends with these people. You don't like these people. You don't know nothing about these people. You're lying. Whatever example it is. Oh, I'm into doing this, and I like this music, and I like all these bands. No, you don't. You don't like those bands. You know. So, I've always got this image in my mind of some guy who's like the coolest guy ever. But in reality, it's all fake, and what he's really into is like bunny rabbits and just raising bunny rabbits. That's his true passion. He just loves bunny rabbits. It's all his heart. Just wants to just be around bunny rabbits all the time, but it's not cool enough, so he has to pretend to be something else, something super awesome and super cool. You know, he probably throws the football and lifts weights, and I don't know. Or maybe he's got jacked up truck and shoots shotguns, or maybe he you know, plays power chords on his guitar, you know, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? When in reality, it's all about the bunny rabbit. Secretly, it's real heart. He's gotta be fake. It can't be real. And in this world, being real can cost you, you know, because there's pushes. There's a push to be fake so that you can be part of the system and move up a ladder that is all about